My name is Vanessa and here is my story. That night Raymond lifted my leg and rested it on his lap, unrolling my sock slowly, like unwrapping something fragile. My skin tingled. I watched the way his fingers moved, deliberate, careful, and a little too slow. He pressed gently around the swollen area, his thumbs brushing places they didn't need to. "You've got soft skin," he said without looking up. My breath caught. "You shouldn't say that." He looked at me then, eyes darker than usual. "I know." We sat in silence. The rain tapped against the windows, a steady rhythm that matched my heartbeat. His hand didn't move from my leg. Neither did I. Hello everyone. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, do well to subscribe and hit on notifications. To all my returning subscribers, thank you for always watching my videos. If someone had told me a year ago that I'd fall for my stepdad, I would have laughed in their face. Disgusted even. But life has a strange way of bending the rules you thought were solid. It doesn't happen all at once. It creeps in slow, quiet, impatient. That's how it started between me and Raymond. My mom married him when I was 17. I didn't think much of him back then. He was calm, older, the type to sit with his arms folded at the dinner table, only speaking when necessary. I never called him Dad. He never asked me to. We weren't close, just coexisting. But things changed when I turned 22. Mom got promoted to regional director at her firm, which basically meant she became married to her job. Gone early, home late. Sometimes she traveled for days. Raymond became the only person around. At first, it felt like any other adjustment. I'd cook dinner sometimes, and he'd offer to clean up. We'd watch TV in the evenings, silent but not awkward. Comfortable. Then he started saying little things. "You're turning into a woman now." That one caught me off guard. I shrugged it off, thinking it was meant to be fatherly, even though it didn't sound like it. But I'd be lying if I said it didn't stir something in me. I'd always known I was attractive, curves in the right places, long legs, that kind of thing. But hearing it from him felt different. Dangerous. It didn't stop there. "You remind me of your mom when she was younger," he said once, watching me pull my hair into a ponytail. I could feel his eyes on me from behind the couch. "Except, you've got something she never had." I should have said something. I should have walked away. But instead I smiled. That was the first time I let the silence answer for me. One afternoon, I came home from the gym wearing just a sports bra and leggings. I didn't think he'd be home. But as I walked past the living room, there he was, sitting in the recliner, remote in hand, eyes glued to the TV. Or so I thought. I felt his gaze before I saw it. Not the quick kind you give someone out of politeness. This was deliberate, slow and heavy. His eyes trailed from my chest to my stomach, then lower. My skin prickled. I froze. "You're sweating," he said, his voice low. "Yeah," I mumbled, hugging my arms across my chest. "I just finished a run." He didn't blink. "You look strong." I went straight to my room, locked the door, and stood in front of the mirror. My heart was pounding. My mind was racing. Was that real? Did I imagine it? But the next morning confirmed everything. I just stepped out of the shower wrapped in a towel. My hair was dripping wet, and I was humming to myself, heading back to my room. He walked past in the hallway. He should have looked away. He didn't. His eyes dropped to my chest, to my thighs. Then back to my eyes. I stood still just for a second longer than I should have. That second changed everything. Because in that second, I saw something in him I hadn't seen before, hunger. And the worst part? I didn't feel afraid. I felt wanted. It was a Sunday evening, quiet, rainy. The kind that makes everything feel heavier than it is. I'd just gotten out of the shower and was padding down the stairs in my socks, scrolling through my phone. Maybe I was careless. Maybe I wanted to be. Either way I slipped. It wasn't dramatic.
No scream, no tumble.
Just a soft yelp and a twist of my ankle as I landed awkwardly on the last few steps. My phone clattered. I winced, gripping the banister for balance. A second later he was there, Raymond, emerging from the living room like he'd been waiting. "You okay?" he asked, rushing over. I think I twisted it, I muttered. He knelt in front of me, one hand gripping my ankle gently, the other steadying my thigh. His fingers were warm, his grip firm but not rough. Our eyes locked. I should take a look, he said. It's fine. Let me help you, he interrupted, his tone low and calm. He was already guiding me to the couch. I let him. He lifted my leg and rested it on his lap, unrolling my socks slowly, like unwrapping something fragile. My skin tingled. I watched the way his fingers moved, deliberate, careful, and a little too slow. He pressed gently around the swollen area, his thumbs brushing places they didn't need to. You've got soft skin, he said without looking up. My breath caught. You shouldn't say that. He looked at me then, eyes darker than usual. I know. We sat in silence. The rain tapped against the windows, a steady rhythm that matched my heartbeat. His hand didn't move from my leg. Neither did I. That night, I stayed in my room, wide awake, replaying every moment in my head. The touch, the look, the words. It didn't feel accidental. Not any of it. But things only escalated from there. 2 days later, he knocked on my door around 10 p.m. I was in bed, leg elevated, watching a show on my laptop. He walked in holding a tray, tea, an ice pack, and a bottle of lotion. You shouldn't be walking on it yet, he said, setting the tray down. Thought I'd bring this to you. He sat at the edge of the bed, lifted the blanket, and reached for my foot. I hesitated, but again I didn't stop him. The lotion was warm. His hands were warm. The way he rubbed it in, it didn't feel like something a stepdad should be doing. Not with that look in his eyes. Not with that soft, calculated pressure. You feel good under my hands, he said. My breath hitched. Raymond. He leaned closer. Say the word and I'll stop. But I didn't say a word. He kissed my knee first, then my thigh. And in that moment I gave in to something I didn't fully understand, desire, confusion, maybe both. Because I didn't push him away. I closed my eyes and let him keep going. After that night we crossed every line. There was no going back. Raymond didn't act surprised, and honestly neither did I. It felt like the slowest fall into something we both had been circling for months. Only now it was real, flesh and fire and whispered secrets in the dark. The next morning my mother kissed me on the cheek and rushed off to work. She had no idea I'd spent half the night in bed with the man she trusted the most. The guilt should have hit me harder than it did. But in that moment I was too consumed by what had just happened. Raymond avoided me most of the day. Not completely, but there was distance again, like he wasn't sure if I regretted it. That evening I passed by him in the hallway, and all he said was, "We shouldn't talk in the open." That became our rule. One of many. When she was home we acted like roommates. Casual conversations. A glance here, a smile there. But when she was gone, even just to the store, we became reckless. It was the little things that made it worse. He'd brush against me on purpose in the kitchen, whisper things in my ear when she was just a room away. One time, I bent down to get something from the fridge, and I felt his hand graze my lower back, firm and deliberate. He mouthed, "Later," and walked off like it meant nothing. That night, when my mom fell asleep early after a long day, he came to my room barefoot, shirtless, holding a bottle of wine and 2 glasses. I sat up in bed, heart pounding. "This is insane," I whispered. "I know," he said, "but I can't stop." Neither could I. We drank, laughed softly, then kissed like we were starving. We made love again. This time slower, deeper, with a kind of desperation I hadn't felt before. He whispered my name like it was a secret prayer. Afterward he held me close, his breath steady against my shoulder. "If your mom finds out," he murmured, "she'll never forgive us." The word "us" sank into my skin. It was never you. It was always we. But we weren't careful. I started slipping, texting him in code, wearing less around the house. I even laughed too hard at one of his jokes during dinner once, and my mom raised an eyebrow. "What's so funny?" she asked, half smiling. Nothing, I said, cheeks flushed. She looked between us for a moment too long. Later she asked me privately, has Raymond said anything weird to you lately? I lied straight to her face.
No.
Why? She shrugged. I don't know. Something just feels off. I laughed it off, kissed her cheek and went to my room. But my heart wouldn't settle. The guilt was getting louder now. Still I couldn't stop. And neither could he. The lowest point came when we did it in her bed. She'd gone away on a weekend trip for a company retreat. Raymond and I didn't even wait until nightfall. We used her bed, her pillows, her blankets. The whole thing felt sick and twisted, but we couldn't resist. It was like temptation had a grip on both of us, and shame came only after. When it was over, I lay there staring at the ceiling, her scent still faint on the sheets. I hate myself, I whispered. No, you don't, he said. You just hate how good it feels. He kissed my shoulder again. I didn't know it then, but that moment would become a memory that haunted me forever. Because the truth has a way of rising, no matter how deep you bury it. It was a Monday evening when everything fell apart. Mom was home early. She walked through the front door quietly, without her usual keys clanking announcement. I was in the kitchen barefoot wearing one of Raymond's shirts, long enough to look innocent if you didn't pay attention, short enough to expose everything if you did. She noticed. Is that his shirt? She asked casually, dropping her purse on the counter. I paused. Too long. Laundry day, I mumbled, turning my back to her. I just grabbed whatever was clean. She didn't respond right away. I could feel her staring like she was trying to put a puzzle together. One she didn't know she was holding all the pieces for. Then came the question that shattered everything. Have you slept with him? The room went still. Even the hum of the fridge seemed to fade. My throat tightened. What? I asked, she said, her voice shaking. If you've been sleeping with my husband. There were no more lies to give her. Not after everything we'd done. Not with the way she was looking at me. Yes, I whispered. It started months ago. I expected screaming, throwing, a slap, anything. But what she did hurt more. She backed away, slowly, like I was something diseased. You were my daughter, she said, voice breaking. I trusted you. I didn't plan this. You didn't stop it. She cut in, eyes glassy but hard. You welcomed it. You enjoyed it. She turned away, walked to the living room, and stood by the window. He's packing his things. I want him out. But you can leave tonight. I swallowed my shame like a knife. Where will I go? She turned her head slightly, her face unreadable. That's not my problem anymore.
I paket fast.
Just a few clothes, my charger, a pair of sneakers. Raymond came down the stairs as I zipped my bag. She knows, I said flatly. He looked tired, older, like the weight of what we'd done had finally sunk into his bones. I never meant to hurt her, he said. Then why did we? He didn't answer. I left first.
No hugs. No final kiss.
Just a cold night, a broken home, and a silence that stretched further than any distance ever could. I moved in with a friend, found a new job, tried to rebuild a version of myself I could live with. Raymond sent a few messages. I never replied. I couldn't. Some betrayals don't need to end in violence or death. They're heavy enough to bury you on their own. What we did wasn't love. It was weakness dressed up as desire, selfishness disguised as intimacy. But I'll never forget how it felt. How easily the line between right and wrong blurred when someone looked at you like you were the only person in the room. And I'll never forget how quickly that illusion shattered. Because once the truth comes out, there's no going back. Only forward with the weight of everything you left behind. Have you ever imagined yourself in this kind of situation? What did you do about it? Subscribe to this channel and hit on notifications for more interesting stories like this.